Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session on formulation and articulation of learning outcomes. A very important topic which Madam has selected because this forms the basis of the implementation of outcome-based education. There will be some repetition also, but those repetition become important with the purpose of continuity and focusing on certain special aspects. So this session will introduce you to primary aim of OBE for formulation of outcome. Then the term, it is found that there is a confusion about the various terminology used in outcome-based education framework. So I thought I'll just dwell on that, but that will clarify many things. Then student learning outcomes, Bloom taxonomy and learning domains, higher level thinking skills, formulation of course and program learning outcomes, and significance of learning outcomes for student, faculty, and management. And I would, I would request the participants to ask questions. We will have, between after every 15-20 minutes, I shall request you to ask questions. But it's only in questions that we clarify many of our doubts. I'm sure all faculty members are very accomplished teachers in their own right. They, in order to gain maximum out of this session, questions will become important. Now, the aim of outcome-based education is primary aim that how to bring desired changes within the learners, their students, how we can enhance their knowledge, how we can help them to develop their skills, and how can we help them to develop and inculcate attitudes, behavior, values, and judgment. That's what OBE says. It is we have to make a decision what are the intended learning outcomes, what are the intended learning of the student. OBE embodies the idea that the best way to learn is to first determine what needs to be achieved. That means before we start the student teaching and in any course or in any program, decide beforehand what should the student learn from it. Not what should be taught to the student, but what should the student learn from that particular activity. When the end goal has been decided, the strategies, processes, techniques, and other ways and means can be put in place to achieve the goal. Now, teaching objectives, there has been some kind of confusion between and understanding of learning outcomes. Now, teaching objectives are the statements of intent, describe specific discrete units of knowledge and skill. This is what the teacher does. Teacher says, in today's session, this is what we are going to do. This is what I'm going to teach. So the objectives describe specific discrete units of knowledge and skill. They can be accomplished within a short period of time and are teacher-centric. Then coming to the issue of learning outcomes are statements which describe broad aspects of knowledge, skill, and behavior which student will imbibe, which student will learn and then demonstrate. So they involve the demonstration of the knowledge that the student have gained, the skill that they have acquired, and the competency that they have developed. So learning outcomes are from the perspective of students, they are student-centric, and objectives are teacher-centric. Objectives stated by the teacher. Objectives are implemented by the teacher via instructions, lectures. Outcome demonstrated by the student and can be measured. Now, we are not able to measure the objectives, but outcomes have the characteristic that they can be measured and are from the student point of view. So just to give you a view, now suppose what is the difference between output and outcome? So output, suppose a person has obtained 10 patents, this is output. He has obtained 10 patents, this is output number. example, in examination, out of 100 students, if 80% pass, then we say 80% is the output. Now, what is the utility, earning, and other benefits of this patent? This is the outcome of the patents, indicating that outcome indicates the utility, outcome indicates the benefit that one earns from undergoing certain activity. So, so output versus outcome. Outputs are those results which are achieved after implementation and activity. For example, if you are organizing a workshop on OBE, participants who attend it have now a clear understanding of OBE, so this is an output of the workshop. That means the understanding what OBE is the output. But what is the effect of these attending a workshop? That is whether I can do the same thing. That is the outcome. So outcomes are effects and results which are visible maybe after some time, which the participants are able to demonstrate. So taking an example of our OBE workshop, if the participants have started to implement the OBE approach and can demonstrate, then it is an outcome of the workshop. Now, the outcome is a outcome maybe in the business outcome maybe in education. Now, when I say outcome of an education activity, what does it imply? So, education outcome refers to knowledge, skills, attitude, and behavior that students acquire during the duration of education and can demonstrate successfully. Now, please appreciate the outcome is not only the learning of the student as regard knowledge, which I've been doing all the time, but it involves skills, attitude, and behavior. This is a very broad concept which participants are requested to appreciate. So, outcomes involve knowledge. Knowledge outcomes mean what do students know? Skill outcomes. What can students do? Then attitude and value outcomes, ethics, diversity, personal identity, motivation, and then behavioral outcome, the habits of student, persistence, concern about society, collaborative, team working, and so on. Now, please appreciate these are the concepts which are being specifically emphasized in the while the OBE is being implemented. In the traditional system, we were mainly focusing on knowledge. We maybe some to some extent about skill, but we were never putting emphasis on other learning of the student. Now, please appreciate our students are good, our teachers are very good, very hardworking, but the system has been such that it was always emphasizing the learning as regard knowledge. That's what is outcome-based education highlights that no, we must emphasize the learning of the student as regard other parameters also. Now, the student learning is not only from the lectures. Student learning is not only self-study. Student learning is from the faculty, lectures, to tutors, lab assistants, resource staff, coaches, example, advisors in residential lifestyle, if they are hostel, sports staff, peers, and student activities. That is, the learning of the student comes various from various activities in which many people are involved. That indicates that if I take only knowledge, that would mean only learning from the faculty or self-learning. But no, student behavior, student attitude, student student interaction with the staff. For this purpose, he's also learning, and OBE has encompassed those things in it. So the learning is a very broad thing in this case. Sorry. See, when I say education learning outcomes are at the course level or at the program level, you know by now that the program is a collection of courses, various subjects. Now, components of whether it's a course level or whether it's a program level, the outcome definition remain the same. Why define outcomes? Now define the outcomes are focusing on student learning. Now, student learning comes not only from the lectures, but from the peer, from the extracurricular activities, from co-curricular activity. So outcomes are intended learning of students. That is what we want our student to learn and demonstrate successfully. So education learning outcomes, when I decided this thing, they contribute to the decision of what kind of curriculum we need. That means we decide we decide the outcomes, and outcomes decide the curriculum. So, and the curricular activities, implementation methods, assessment, strategies to implement, assessment, evaluation, course. That is, once outcomes have been decided, that what student learning has been decided by the institute, by the faculty, then all other activities of delivery of lecture, assessment, they get defined. So how do outcomes are expressed? Outcomes are expressed. How do I know the learning of the student as regard knowledge, skill? Now, this is done by defining, by stating the outcomes as statements. The outcomes are specified in terms of statements, and these are prepared using Bloom taxonomic guidelines. Because I want my student to have knowledge, skill, etc. So how can I embed that into a particular statement, and then I do this thing. Now, so as regards then outcomes include range of knowledge. And then another aspect is that statements are outcome statements are verifiable. Verifiable means we can always do this thing. We can verifiable implies that if I've stated something in a statement, then I have the means of saying what I've stated can be verified. So outcomes are expressed as statements, and then Bloom taxonomy forms the basis of formulating the outcomes and provides guidelines for the formulation of student learning outcomes. See, we are trying, in this session, we are focusing how to design, how to formulate student learning outcomes. And outcomes are four components. Please remember this. OB is teaching learning pedagogy, which enables to embed teaching, assessment, improvement processes and practices of student learning in the curriculum. So the curriculum has to be designed like this. If you look at the Bloom taxonomy, you might have been exposed to this earlier also. I will just state in briefly for the sake of continuity, and if there are any doubts, you can again raise those issues. So Bloom taxonomy says human learning, please appreciate. Bloom taxonomy says human learning can be classified into three domains. Cognitive domain, that is knowing, intellectual, brain, but is learned by the brain, that is mental skills, knowledge. Then second is psychomotor domain, that means doing things with hands, learning with hands, manual or physical skills. Affective domain, feeling, that means emotions, feelings, growth in feeling or emotional attitude, behavior, like this. So Bloom taxonomy studied the learning patterns of human being and divided the learning into three domains: cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, affective domain. One is with the mental skills, another with the manual skills, another is the feeling, etc. It's like saying mind is concerned the affective domain, body concerns psychomotor domain, and brain concerns cognitive domain. Then domains are further divided into six into hierarchical levels, because cognitive domain consists of 6 levels, affective domains 5 levels, and psychomotor domain also 5 levels. Let us first focus on cognitive domain. The reason I am discussing it with you, because I'm going to use the cognitive domain and other domain levels to to formulate the course outcomes and program outcomes. If you have done it earlier, as I mentioned earlier, there will be some repetition, but this is necessary for the continuity and proper presentation of the learning, student learning outcomes. Our thinking can go into six increasingly complex levels. That's higher order thinking. So remember the higher order thinking, they are as per the levels: analyze, evaluate, create. So remember, understand, apply. These are the lower levels, and they refer to the lower order thinking skills. As we go from the lower level to the higher level, things become more and more complex. And when we are designing our learning outcomes, then we have to demonstrate how we are encapsulating the higher order thinking skills or lower order thinking skills in the statements of preparing the learning in the course or program outcomes. So the goal, see, in order to improve things, it's essential that we focus on those aspects of student learning where his brain is challenged more and more, which means he is developing the capability of not only applying what he has learned, but he has also developed the capability of analyzing things. He is also developing the how to judge things, how to judge ideas, how to differentiate ideas, how to evaluate ideas, and then becomes combining parts to make a new whole, creativity. That means our goal is to develop higher thinking skills in the student. How can I do that? I can do it by, if I first state that when I design my course outcomes, when I design my program outcomes, then my emphasis on the higher thinking levels. Now, Bloom level and thinking junior classes. Most learning occurs at the lower levels, where in knowledge, understanding, and application. For example, one may be expected to learn the names and properties of chemical elements, that is knowledge, then understand why elements react with others, that's understanding, conduct experiment, that is application. Now, at these levels, memory and comprehension are important. Though textbooks and study guides present knowledge as absolute and unchanging, we only gain knowledge. That means the third three lower levels, mastery 1 and 2, they say you gain knowledge, you learn, and then start applying it. But this trend should not continue in the higher classes. That is fine at the school levels, that is fine at the first year level, but when we go to higher classes, this trend should be changed. Now, which needs to be changed? We need to create knowledge, make our students skillful, innovative. So focus should be on the upper three level. So when I formulate my course outcomes, when I formulate my program outcomes, then my emphasis should be on the upper levels. Now, how do I embed into it? So for this, Bloom has given certain action verbs. Bloom taxonomy provides a set of measurable verbs to describe and classify observable knowledge, skills, attitude, and behaviors. Now, please see that now the Bloom has suggested a methodology also of how to address the student learning at the higher levels. This is with the help of the verbs that he has suggested, and there is a logic for that. We indicate explicitly what the student must do in order to demonstrate learning. So Bloom says, I give you the verbs which can be used to create learning outcome, which can be assessed and measured. Please remember, outcome-based education says, look, focus on continuous improvement. I cannot improve till I can measure it. So measurement, assessment and measurement are very important processes of outcome-based system. Here is a action verbs for cognitive domain levels. See, remember define, identify, understand, apply. There are corresponding verbs. There are as regard these various levels. These you can look at the internet and then use them. The reason here say, see when I say analyze, then in analyze, if I want a student to analyze things, then the sentence that I prepare should be such that it sends a signal to the student that what he is expected to do. For example, if I say discriminate, this means student is encouraged to compare various things and then come out with a the difference. Now say create. If I say develop, it means this is not the same thing. It is something developing what he has learned already. That means reconstruct. He has to design some new thing on the basis of what he has learned already, what knowledge he has gained already. In order to be a good creative person, individual should have good learning of analysis, good knowledge about how to evaluate, and good knowledge of the discipline. Thus indicating that in order to make our students creative, make our students problem solvers, we need to focus on these aspects. Now, here are the examples of active verbs corresponding to writing outcomes for the level remember and knowledge. So when I say recall, just recall the axiom and laws of Boolean algebra. There is no question, there is no nothing else. Just remember, outline and define. So if I use I have highlighted these different color to indicate in order to design the learning outcomes, which emphasizes the domain at the lower levels, remember and knowledge, we should use these verbs. These verbs are from this table. Similarly, what is done, what we expect from the student be able to do when the learning is at the lower two levels, what do we expect student to learning to do? We will say successfully solve textbook problem using appropriate technical procedures. Now, textbook problems are standard problems. Students, they are mostly they are done in the class and they are follow pattern. Express and communicate ideas into my own words, interpret or summarize communications. You can use the problem solution term effects word. So this is what we expect from a student when he is at the lower levels. And please appreciate this is what has happened at the first year, second year, or in the school level. But we want when we go to the understanding level, then they use the verbs corresponding to the understanding level. For example, convert, discuss. Now he can convert only if he understands the number systems. They say, similar, or let's take example, predict the effect of warming and weather. He can predict, he can understand this only if he knows, because the knowing and understanding, it knows what are the effect of weather, classify reactions, which means in order to address his learning at the understanding level, we use the verbs from the table which I have indicated earlier. Similarly, for the application level, in application level, use verbs correspond to application level. Example, modify, apply, select, construct. Now, when I say construct a timeline of significant event in the history of East India Company in 19th century, that means he can do it only if he remembers, if he understands, and then he uses that knowledge to construct this timeline. So, in order that a student is proficient on the higher levels, he should be well versed with the information about the lower levels. Now, see when I say analysis level, examples of use of active verbs, calculate, compare. Now see here, these verbs, they send a kind of signal in the brain that there is a comparison involved, that there is a estimation involved, that there is a the it is not a straightforward remember. So when I'm doing analysis part, I should look at the verbs from the analysis level and design my statement, that is a learning outcome, accordingly. So when I compare the classroom practice of a newly qualified teacher with the that of a teacher 20 years teaching experience. Now when he says when he compares, it is bringing in his brain that he is required to remember and recall various things. We see these things. Evaluation level. See, in evaluation level, see, assess the importance of key factors. How can a student assess the importance of key factors? He should know about the key factors. He should understand what are the key factors. He should know how these key factors are relevant here. So assess the importance of key factors in bringing about change in electronics industry. See, he is able, you want a student to know what are the factors required, then we should assess it. This is the evaluation level. Similarly, evaluate strategies for the success of e-commerce business models or appraise the role of predict the change of temperature. Now, please see here, in evaluation level, there is a comparison, there is a estimation, there is a summarizing of what is done. This can be done only when a student is well versed in the lower levels. So I want to train my student to be a good evaluator. So it's essential that I train him in those lower level learning also. Now in creativity or in creative, here we lack very poorly that our students, they are very good to do textbook problems, they are very good to learn remember things, but when it comes to applying things, when it comes to creating new things, they need a lot of reorientation as regard teaching learning goes. So in student create new ideas and information using what previously has been learned. So, like constructing new things, designing, devising, making. So, can students generate new ideas? Can students generate new products? Can students give different new interpretation of the existing maybe knowledge, whatever it is? So, creativity, in order to imbibe creativity in the student, it is essential we challenge his brain, we challenge his learning with a view of doing things out of the box, as is also called. Example, if planning is to be done for a project, there information may or may not be available. Planning may be done for devising a new experiment. So these are the things which we do student to learn. Now, creativity example is use work from the creative level, create level. Design an interaction program to print all prime numbers occurring between 0 and 100. Then find their sum and print whether the sum is odd or even. Include proper documentation and list the number of errors, if any, which occurred while executing the program. Please appreciate this is a normally, just to give you an example of the computer labs, we will say design an interactive program to print all the prime numbers between 0 and 100. This is a very common assignment which is given to the students in their programming class. Now just add to this, find their sum and print whether the sum is odd or even. Include proper documentation. That means now you are challenging the brain of the student to think beyond what he has been used to. He has to prepare documentation, he has to list the number of errors, the reasons why errors occurred while executing the program. So here is an example where we are asking the student to write a program all right, but also start challenging his brain so that he learns more and more and does newer things. Now, for each of these strategies, now the teaching learning strategies are different for the same or different for this. As I mentioned earlier, a learning outcome indicates the what kind of teaching is required. For example, if a student is to learn knowledge, lectures are all right. But if student is designed is imbibe a skill, critical thinking, then lab or other things are important. So there are methods. Similarly, nowadays, during the earlier Bloom taxonomy is more than 60, 70 years old. But we know that during the last 30, 40 years, internet has become a real part of our life, of our education. So now digital Bloom taxonomy has also been introduced, creating, understanding, applying, etc. And the corresponding verbs for this is like, say, for analyzing, appraising, attributing, breakdown, organizing, questioning, structuring, surveying. Now, this when you are preparing a learning outcome for a course where there is a lot of, computer activity, IT relation, then use these verbs for this purpose. Now, similarly, for example, create short video to evidence learning, build up an application, and so on. So this is how you can do all this. Second aspect for the learning domain is the affective domain. Now, what is affective? You must have learned affective domain. Affective domain concerns human values, emotions, feelings, attitude, and behavior. It involves human value system, which includes the manner we behave, deal with human beings, etc. Now, please see here. Now, this is very important that in outcome-based education system, human value is built into it. So when I formulate my course outcome, I must take into account these aspects. It has been a growth so far. New education policy also, value-based education system is being emphasized. In the context of while formulating learning outcomes, we need to take into account affective domain as well. So affective domain, why it has come up in the level. Now, please see here. Here I am trying to give you an idea of why affective domain has been the integral part of Bloom taxonomy. If you look at the human brain, then left brain is very good in cognitive activities like number skills, mathematics, scientific skills, analytics, logic, and reasoning. And our right brain is very good, or is heavily emphasized on creativity, emotions, imagination, looking at left side control, right side control. Now, please see why I'm giving you this thing is that Bloom taxonomy is based on natural, sorry, is based on natural talents of human mind, human brain. These things are present in every human being. That means cognitive, affective characteristics are present in every human brain. Nature has given us. The Bloom taxonomy has explicitly stated how to incorporate these features in the teaching and learning of the students. So cognitive I have discussed with you, and now please appreciate the original affective domain as well. Now, human values, affective domains, there are 5 levels: receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and each one of them has again the Bloom works. Now, please appreciate these things. Now, when I design a learning outcome which involves affective domain, then I should be able to see what I want my students to imbibe. Now, examples, we say it's a good to be सच बोलना चाहिए, ठीक है. A student is understanding is right, truth is valuable. Now then, does he practice? Does he lose the importance of this? Is he using it in real life? Has it become a part of his routine life? So that means good things, student responds, student understands and values and uses in daily life. This is what the affective domain says, that when you want your students to imbibe, human values, you want to you want to values like say honesty. Any question, please?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, I'm not able to hear you.
Uh,
नहीं नहीं मैम, एक बार आप काइंडली प्लीज रिकनेक्ट करिए. ग्रोवर सर, यू आर परफेक्टली ऑडिबल.
okay, thank you. The reason I'm saying is, from my side, everything is as going on.
हाँ जी मैम, देयर माइट बी अ नेटवर्क इशू एट योर एंड. ही इज परफेक्टली ऑडिबल. ग्रोवर सर, वी कैन कंटिन्यू.
Right.
नहीं सर, आपने शेयरिंग बंद कर दी. एक बार दोबारा शेयरिंग, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ऑन कर लीजिए.
अच्छा, सॉरी, हो गया.
नहीं सर, दोबारा प्रेजेंट नाउ पे जाके करना पड़ेगा आपको.
अभी दोबारा प्रेजेंट, ओहो सॉरी. आ गया.
हाँ जी सर, इट इज कमिंग अप. अब प्रेजेंटेशन. हाँ जी हाँ जी, थैंक यू.
ठीक.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, there are many action words that are common to different Bloom's level. So how to distinguish among those?
Now here comes our judgment. See, keep in mind, these are not exact. They only provide the guidelines. So let us say we sit together, what you think is creative, I may differ there. So what is done in these 2-3 teachers who are well aware of these things, they sit together and then design it. And the common works, again, it is our intuition, it is our experience which tells us it should be more appropriate.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Right? Now, as we did in the cognitive domain, affective domains use the word accept, appreciate, display, relate, resolve. I have taken these examples. For example, display willingness to communicate well with team members. This indicates that the student is a good team player. He wants to share the relevant knowledge among the colleagues. Now, this habit has to be imbibed in the student. See, please remember, there are certain natural things. Education is developing these natural things to a higher level. Brain is a muscle, and brain can be developed to a higher level, which indicating that these characteristics of brain, which nature has given us, can be further enhanced, can be further developed, and so on. So the purpose of education is to enhance the natural abilities of a human being, So when I say participate in class discussion with colleagues and with teachers, see, there are students who are very enthusiastic to participate. There are students who are unwilling to participate. There are students who avoid these things. Now, the outcome-based education says the student should be, and the student ability should be, skill should be developed, that he participates in the discussions, in the learnings, in the sharing, and so on. And this is a part of affective domain. Now, what is the relevance of affective domain in education? This is very important, because affective objective emphasizes feelings, emotions, and degree of acceptance or rejection of given phenomenon, of given activity. These objectives occupy in our traditional system, we hardly emphasize them. These objectives occupy limited space in the more traditional sets of curricular activities, but their importance is now becoming more widely recognized. Then we encourage students to not only just receive information as a part of the affective domain, but share information. So the affective domain has now become very important. When I say value-based education, then affective domain becomes central role. So I will share a few more things with you, so that you now, when you prepare your learning outcome, affective domain verbs are also included. The moment you include your affective domain verbs, you are sending a signal to the teacher, to the students, that ours is going to be a value oriented teaching learning. Then next is the psychomotor domain. Look at sports. There are I'm not good at hockey. You may be good at hockey. Doctors, they are very good doctors for using stethoscope, chemistry lab, and so on. See, labs working with hands is an integral part of almost all professional courses. And now, use of computers, use of devices has become integral part of all learning human activities. That is covered in the psychomotor domain. In psychomotor domain also involves 5 levels: imitation, manipulation, precision, etc. And in this case, psychomotor domain includes physical movement, coordination, and use of muscles and the motor skills. So endurance, strength, speed, they are part of precision, use of precision instruments, and so on. So please appreciate, we do not, in our traditional teaching learning, we do not emphasize these things. We may not be aware of these things. That let us say a student is working in the lab. We know he does experiment in the lab, takes observation, he comes to the teacher, gets signed, done. Now, in this lab itself, when he is using equipment, how accurately is he using? How precisely he is taking the observations? What kind of, let us take a focusing, how much focusing, how accurately focusing he can do, and so on. So these things, there are students who are very good, there are students who need to learn these things. Once we embed these aspects in our learning outcomes, then they derive a lot of attention. So psychomotor learning outcomes deal with the development and manipulation of physical skills, things like mating, setting up and using equipment, using tools, etc. So we find there are 5 levels, and corresponding 5 levels, there are again verbs. Please, it is again similar to that. I should just go quickly out of this. So whenever you want, this is especially useful for the lab work, especially useful for medical doctors, especially used for persons who have sports as a discipline, let's say BSc in sports science, because sports is become an integral part of his learning. So these things are relevant there. They may not be that much relevant for a computer science student, but they are very relevant for a mechanical engineering student or for a sports person who is undergoing certain physical education program. So psychomotor ability, laboratories, they have to help the laboratory skills. Now, actually, Bloom taxonomy, 3 levels, 3 domains: affective, cognitive, and psychomotor. They are not independent. They are not something separate. They overlap each other. There may be disciplines where cognitive domain is important, much more important than psychomotor affective. There may be discipline where psychomotor is much more important than others. There may be discipline where affective is very important than others. Or there may be discipline where 2 of them are very important. There may be discipline where other 3 are very important. So this is what the faculty member, teacher has to know, understand. See, this is what I have been emphasizing. Until the teacher understands fully, appreciate the significance of the learning outcomes and its components, and its relationship with the various human talents, then it may not be very effectively, it may not be able to effectively imbibe these or enhance these among the students. So the request is all teachers should become familiar with this. This is just a summary of that. Now see here, just to bring that, a cognitive domain, knowledge, skills, focuses brain development. Affective, attitude, interest, feeling, value adjustment, focuses mind training. Psychomotor, motor and management skills, focuses bodily development. So goal outcome based education is the holistic development, that is brain, mind and body of students. Application of Bloom taxonomy guides how to achieve this by designing, by formulating learning outcomes. Now, formulation of course and program learning outcome. Now, we have seen how Bloom taxonomy provides us the guidelines, provides us the norms, and to design, to formulate what the student will be learning. That's outcomes. I have mentioned early in the beginning outcomes. What should be the outcome of the students? Learning outcome for the students. Now, Bloom taxonomy has given us the formulation. Now, learning outcomes in the education institution are course outcomes and program outcomes. See, program outcomes, course outcome are defined for a course. Let us take BTech is a course, diploma is a course. There may be various, sorry, program. I'm very sorry, very sorry. BTech is a program, diploma is a program, MS is a program. There are many courses in each of the program. For example, BTech has 10 courses, 10 theory courses in the first year, 4 or 5 labs in the first year. These are the courses. So courses we define are defined for a course, relate to program outcomes. See, program outcomes are for the complete consolidated learning of the student for the whole program. The 1 year program, 2 year program, 4 year program, 5 year program, 6 month program, a terminal program where we say a certificate is given or diploma is given, is referred to as program, a program, and program outcome is what is learning in that. So in course outcomes, which we design, are defined for a course, relate to program outcomes, connect courses to one another systematically, build upon each other to create an integrated whole. They are realistic and measurable, help by thinking skills among students. See, when I asking the student, let us take the case of BTech. There's a computer BTech is mechanical engineer. He's undergoing courses on workshop. He's undergoing courses on thermodynamics. He's undergoing courses on many other related topics. Now, there may be in a program of about 4 years, there may be 20, maybe there may be 30 or 40 labs. There may be every year 3 labs, 6, 4, 25, 30 labs, say 40, 45 theory papers. Each of the theory paper, each of the lab will have learning outcome. Please remember that. Learning outcome, course outcome is for every course. Even if a student undergoes a, let's say, 1 credit sports course as a mechanical engineering student, it will have a learning outcome. All these learning outcomes are consolidated, they become program outcome. Describe what all students will be able to do on a completion of the program. Knowledge and skill develop over time and knowledge is a continuous learning, gaining process. Skill is a continuous gaining process. So In order to these things, how do I design these things? How do I formulate these things? See, Bloom taxonomy has given a process of designing them. But what should be the component of that? What should be the goal of that? Now just look at this. See, outcome-based education says define graduate attributes. Now, graduate attributes are the qualities of the students which we want them to imbibe. Now, those qualities, how do I know what quality should they have? Those qualities we gain information and knowledge from the industry, from the employer, from the life skill, and so on. We gain it from them. And then we want, industry wants students who are critical thinkers. Industry wants students who are problem solvers. Industry wants students who are good collaborators. Industry wants students who have growth mindset. Industry wants this kind of trained student, educated student. If that is so, I express them in the form of graduate attributes. That is, whatever industry wants, whatever career skills are required, whatever life skills are required, we just jot down. In the slide, look at the left side. This is what is desired. I express them as graduate attributes because graduate attributes, these I say good knowledge of discipline, innovation in problem solving, modern tool usage, good communicator, lifelong learning. So thus indicating what industry wanted. I have been expressed them as graduate attributes or the qualities of the student which I would like them to imbibe. Now, graduate attributes serve as the guide to define program learning outcomes. See, program learning outcomes are decided keeping in view what the graduate attributes are. Now, graduate attributes define program outcomes. That means describe what all students will be able to do on the completion of the program, knowledge and skills, and integrate and critical block. Graduate attributes help us to define the program outcome, what we should know learning. How to achieve that? Sorry. Now, program outcomes, they provide us the clue of what kind of curriculum should we have it, what kind of courses should we have it, what kind of extracurricular should we have it. So course outcomes are the source syllabus. From syllabus, we did come up with the course outcomes. Now, those course outcomes help us realize the program outcome. Are defined for a course. They relate to the program. They connect courses to one another. They build upon each other to create an integrated whole, and so on. Now, please see here. The process is we design graduate attributes keeping in view what the industry wants. Graduate attributes help us to define the program outcomes. Program outcome help us to design the curriculum. Curriculum involves the syllabus. Syllabus helps us to design the course outcome, and course outcomes help us design the program. It's a circular process. So learning outcome here, as I mentioned earlier, there are three knowledge, skill. They are the cognitive, attitude, values, and behavioral outcomes. They are the affective, and motoring and physical outcome are the psychomotor. We see the beautiful connection of the Bloom taxonomy, the course outcome, and student learning. Now, when I say student learning, then how do I convey it as regards learning outcomes? See what he has learned. How I express that? So, designing of learning outcome, it is via statements. State outcomes are specified in terms of statements. Statement that describe what students are expected to know and be able to do on completion of an educational facility, of an education. Outcomes range, as I mentioned earlier, are knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. Now, the statements I write are verifiable and measurable. Outcomes are prepared at course level and program level. Now, Again, please remember, a learning outcome is a measurable, observable, specific statement that clearly indicates what a student should know and be able to do as a result of learning. Now, what learning out, writing, how do we write them? How do we prepare them? How do we formulate them? So learning outcome should include audience, that is our student. Learning outcome when I prepare, performance, what he should do. Okay, what learners will be able to do after the instruction, after the lecture. Condition, conclude the condition. जो उसने what he has to do under what condition. Include the conditions under which the learner should demonstrate the skill that he has gained, and whether he has gained up to the level success criteria, what defines possible acceptable performance. So now please see here, as I mentioned, learning outcome is a statement. And this statement, how to prepare this statement? How to prepare this statement is like this. Now look at this example. See, most outcomes are formulated need to have the following 3 or 4 elements as action verb, that is Bloom verb, object or noun, activity to be performed, condition, the method, technique or tool, process, कैसे करना है, किस तरह करना है, and criteria, acceptable level of performance, and so on. Now, please see here, when I prepare a statement, the student or the other person should get these things clearly stated, clearly understood. Now see, let me give you an example. Determine the root of the given equation by Newton-Raphson method accurate to second place of decimal. Let me give you an example. This is an example of an outcome statement. Determine the root of a given equation. Now, determine is a action verb, application. If you look at a table, it's application verb. Root of given equation. What is to be done? Determine, find out the root of the given equation. This is to be done. Root can be found by various methods. I have put a condition, use Newton-Raphson method. Condition is use Newton-Raphson method. It's okay. Then I have also put a constraint that the criterion accurate up to second place of decimal. That means the statement which I wrote indicates what student is to do, how it is to do, under what condition it is to do, and under what performance of level it is to do. So learning outcome contains this information that what student is required to do, how it is required to do, under what condition is required to do, and what accuracy is required to do. Once this is specified, the student brain gets a message of thinking about these various aspects. This is one format of writing or formulating the course outcomes. Others are also there, action, verb, object, and target modifier, and then so on. A CO may be defined using 1 or 2 Bloom verbs, no more. Now, you see, when I design the course outcome, then the Bloom verbs which I use them. If you use too many Bloom verbs, then implementing will become a challenge. So it is experience shows 1 or 2 Bloom verbs will be adequate to be used in the design of the course outcome. Now take another example. Now please, we are discussing formulation of course outcomes. Take another example. Example is design a beam. इसमें वर्ब है और नाउन है. अब स्टूडेंट कंफ्यूज हो गया कि मैं क्या करूं, कि किस मेथड से करूं, किस एक्यूरेसी से करूं. Student doesn't know about this, so we say it's a poor construction. If you say design a beam using Microsoft Excel design template, it's a better learning outcome design, because now student know the method that he has to use. He has to design a beam. Now he has to design a beam using a method. So is a verb, noun and condition तीन. Or still better construction of a learning outcome may be design a beam using Microsoft Excel design template based on national standards. So please see here, in this case, there is a Bloom verb, there is a noun, there is a condition, and there is a standard. Now, this is much better understandable by the student what it is to do. It is what we say, a good design of a learning outcome. Formulation is good. Number one, formulation is poor because student does not know, student not given any direction, student not given any hint what it is, what he has or she has to do. So this is indicating that when I design a learning outcome, this learning outcome should be designed in such a way that it sends a clear signal to the student as regard the various aspects of that particular learning, maybe at the various levels. When I'm using the word design, I am expecting the student to work at the highest level. He can work at the highest level only if he is well aware of what is at the corresponding lowest levels, and so on. So more example indicate blooming level. For example, a list and describe the architecture and function of the different components of a microprocessor. Now this is at the knowledge level. Example, summarize the salient features of binary tree and heap tree. It's at understanding. You can do it only, summarize the features if you understand what are the various features, otherwise you cannot do it. Similarly, design an interactive program, which I had mentioned earlier also, this is a creative. That means the formulation of the learning outcome conveys clearly what is student expected to demonstrate at the which level, at the lower levels or the higher levels, and so on. So here is a case study, course outcome for the CS. This is a course, my area is computer science, so I have just taken an example, but this is illustrate. And here is a program, here is a course, computer organization architecture. On the right side is the syllabus. Now, when the syllabus is implemented, what I expect the student to learn? That means course outcomes of this course. Now, normally course outcomes 4, 5, 6. Depending on the syllabus of a particular course, we design, sorry, course outcomes. Now, course outcomes may be 5, 6, and now on the left side, you will see CO course 1. Identify the main types of main memory. Identify only. It's at the knowledge level. CO4 describe, again at the knowledge level. CO6 compute, it's at the application level. Now here I have given you one style of representing course outcome. That means these course outcomes which I have given should be such, they are emphasizing only lower 3 levels. Application, understanding, and remember. Now, this is okay, this is a first year paper, first year student. We can go higher, but majority of students will be like this. So wherever I have written the course outcome, now there are 4 or 5 course outcomes, I expect the student to understand, I expect to do simple application and so on. So another example is analysis design of algorithm. Here you will notice that I have given, there are 5, 6 course outcomes. and emphasis has shifted now to higher levels. This is the second year, emphasis shifted on the higher level. So lower level will also there. Lower level will also be there in every course. One or two in lower level course, some may be having more of number of lower levels, others may be having a higher level. It teaches judgment and what he or she wants the student to learn, at what level to learn. That in this example, I have taken application, evaluation more or equal to what knowledge, etc. is concerned. But this also indicates that as I go higher up the class levels, the emphasis, my emphasis of student learning also goes up to the levels. So well written and complete outcome statement will usually define the following elements: who will change the students, what will change, knowledge, skill, etc., the time frame when they wish to change, and how change will be measured, assessment, so on. Now that's how we construct the course outcomes for this. After having constructed course outcomes, we go over to how to design the program outcomes. Now, here I give you a quick view that please appreciate course outcomes are to be prepared for every course, maybe lab course, maybe a project, maybe your theory, etc. So remember, what are learning outcomes of the projects? Projects are, especially when it's 6 to 8 months, there are variety of learning outcome. There is discipline, there is a skill, there is a affective domain, there is psychomotor domain, depending on the type of the project. There is a theoretical project, there is a lab-oriented project, whether it's experimental projects, and so on. This I am giving you just the view to, because many of the teachers, when they are looking at the learning outcome of project, they mix up things. And when it comes to mapping, course mapping to the program mapping, then projects are give the maximum level of mapping. This I have just indicated for this. So course outcomes are adjustable. There is no unique formula. Please see this thing. I request the teacher to appreciate. It is all the judgment, assessment of the faculty members. Let us take 4 faculty members who are teaching a particular paper. What are the learning which student is expected to gain out of that? Let's say there may be a set of teachers which does this exercise, another teacher does exercise, they may differ up to 10, 15, 20%. But on the whole, about 80%, they will agree what is expected learning outcome. So they are adjustable, they are not unique. Many times, universities, departments prepare the learning outcome and send it to the colleges to follow that. Now, in the absence of that autonomy, this is all right, but please see that this is again not the unique what the university sends it. If you can do beyond that, no one will be saying anything. They will be happy. I would say that when you are preparing the course, when you are implementing the course outcome, you kindly see to it that you, depending on the class, which level is being emphasized. So here is just a summary of what I had discussed about course like this. So Bloom taxonomy, cognitive, psychomotor, affective, levels, then action verbs, and learning outcomes. That's how construction is. Now the question is writing the program learning outcomes. Program learning outcomes are also written using Bloom action verbs. Program learning outcomes are also written using Bloom action verbs. The rules for writing learning outcomes for program are the same as those for writing learning outcomes for course, module, but encompass the experience and learning of the complete program. General guidance is there should be 10 to 12 learning outcomes for a program. There are 4, 5 to 6 for the course outcome, maybe around 10 or 12 of the program outcome. CPOs indicate the abilities and outcome, the knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior which student is required to demonstrate on completion of the program. POs are the integrated outcome of all the course outcomes over the duration of the program. Now, teachers among you who are maybe diploma teacher or degree teacher, college teachers or university are like they have been, especially in professional courses, they have been introduced to learning outcomes, program outcome by NBA. But in the context of courses like MSc, BSc, UGC is trying to give these things. In that context, please see, depending upon what the student should be learning. So in the context of engineering program, see example of program apply the knowledge of mathematics, science, engineering, fundamentals and engineering specialization for solution of complex engineering problems, or recognize the need for and have this. So these are the learning outcomes at the program stage after 3 years, 4 years, and so on. How do we prepare them? Again, we take the help of generic graduate attributes. Generic graduate attributes, which I mentioned in the beginning earlier, that knowledge and expertise, problem solving skills should students do it. See, these have been used to design the graduate attributes. In this context, I take the example of NBA graduate attributes for the BTech program. Now, please see here. Please see here. See, in the BTech program, NBA specifies 12 graduate attributes. 5 of them are for the discipline. 2 are for the society. And 4 are for the individual. And 1 is just a common relevant to engineering discipline. What does it indicate? Student has qualified a program. He is now entering into life. What should be his learnings? Outcome-based education says he should be holistically developed individual. That means good knowledge, discipline, good knowledge of discipline, good human being, ethical behavior, attitude, and concern about the society. He is living in a society. He should respect the society. He should care for the society, thus indicating that program outcomes should be such that student is taught these things. And assessed for that. Now, the Bloom taxonomy action verbs for writing program outcome. Program outcomes purely indicate student learning at the end of the program. Graduate attribute form the basis for defining the program outcome, and Bloom taxonomy enabled to express them via statements. As a use statement, express statements for the course outcome. Similarly, formulation for the program outcome. Action verbs occurring in COs and action verbs occurring in POs help to establish links among them. See, when I prepare my course outcome using action verbs, I prepare my program outcome using action verbs. Wherever there is a commonality, that means that course outcome is contributing to that particular program outcome to a large extent. Very important. The links between course outcome and program outcome. POs give an indication as the level of skills with which the student to imbibe and demonstrate at the end of the program, do you want to emphasize the higher order thinking skill? Try to use action verbs of analyze, evaluate, and create levels. Now, please appreciate few things. Now, it is when I formulate a course outcome, when I formulate a program outcomes, if my verbs that I'm using in designing those statements corresponding to the higher levels, then I'm sending the message that the learning of the student, according to these, will be at the higher levels. Very important consideration to send the signal and to train the student at those levels. So when I use the verbs for analyze, evaluate, and create, what I'm doing is I am using the assignments, I am using the problem, I am using teaching methodology, I am using the student interaction to that level. That's how these levels become important and they lead us to these things. Now, these are the program outcomes. Now, see, remember, program outcomes are written for first we write the graduate attributes, which are simply certain words. When I say program outcomes, then I expand them to make it measurable. Graduate attributes are not measurable. Learning outcomes are measurable. So corresponding to the graduate attributes, we express the program outcomes. Take this example. This is a NBA, engineering knowledge. The verb used is apply. Problem analysis, verb used identify and formulate. Conduct investigation, complex problem, use, design. So these have been prepared very carefully and mentioned specifically what's to be done. Now, each one of these verbs, which I have highlighted here in a different color, sends the signal, the level that the student is required to be trained in that case. So, modern tool usage, create, select, and apply. The engineering society, environment, and sustainability. Now, please see here in employment, in environment and employability, understand the impact of professional engineering solution in the societal and environmental context and demonstrate the knowledge need for sustainable development. This is PO7. Now, this PO7 is connecting the learning of student with the environment. You know, we have NSS, NCC. उससे क्या purpose होता है? This is what it is. So, in ethics, so keeping in view this thing sends a very simple signal of how to do it. Then program learning outcome, individual and team working, then communication and lifelong learning. These are some of these things. Similarly, we can design program outcomes for the MBA program. Now I'm saying these are intended learning outcomes of program. When I'm having MBA program, I can design these things. I can design these things for MTech program. See, in MTech program, the advanced program built over undergraduate program. MTech students are expected to be analysts, higher level problem solvers, team leaders, knowledge creators, researchers, etc. So the curriculum, the PO that I design should be at a higher level. Then the verbs I use should be at the corresponding higher Bloom levels. And the curriculum I design will be corresponding to that. Similarly, on completion of the program, students should be able to demonstrate critical understanding, implement, contribute. Now, these are the verbs which correspond to the higher Bloom level, higher Bloom levels. So, indicating that when I go to MTech program or I go to PhD program, that my student learning outcome should be up corresponding to higher levels. If I'm not doing that, then sending a signal that my students of MTech have not imbibed the skills or the skills corresponding to the higher thinking skills. That's what is the significance of this. So similarly we can have a PhD, and then we can have for the various things. For laws, we can have for a law graduate, we can have for a master of science, we can have for the arts and entertainment program, like this. So the reason I'm saying all this is that each of the program, we need to design the program outcome, formulate the program outcome for each of the program using Bloom taxonomy. And now to sum up, that Bloom taxonomy enables us what is to be emphasized for the development of the human brain, for the development of human competencies, and so on. So in designing the learning outcome, avoid these verbs. These verbs, now please, you can ask why. So when I say appreciate, what to measure here? Comprehend, memorize. These are the verbs which are vague. They do not give us any hint of measuring anything. So avoid these verbs. So incorporate a mixture of lower and higher order thinking. Check that outcomes reflect knowledge, skill, and attitude. So please appreciate the construction of the learning outcome with the help of program outcome. Take these into account. Now, checklist for final control of learning outcomes. Now, please ask the following questions. Are the outcomes focused on what the student is supposed to know, understand, perform, and assess? That means faculty has to ask this thing. Do the outcomes signal activity from the student? Faculty has to ask these things. Do the outcomes signal level of accomplishment you are aiming for the students? Are the outcomes possible to assess? Are they understandable? Are they understandable by the student? Are they realistic? Are they achievable within a course time frame? That means अगर आपका 3 महीने हैं, 4 महीने हैं, या साल है, या 2 साल है, do they describe something the student shall do or activity? Are they so specific that they better suited as criteria, and so on? So this is the question we have to ask as faculty member. This is a checklist for the control of the learning outcomes, which we take like this. So, look, OBF outcome-based framework demand the design of COs be such that they are closely linked with the POs and enable their attainment. Now the issue is which course outcome will be contributing to the program outcome. In this case, I shared with you thumb rules. Look for action verbs in program outcomes. Look for similar action verbs in course outcomes. Wherever there is a match, it implies that those COs will contribute to those particular POs. Now, please see this thing. Now, significance of the action verbs in the context of mapping course outcome to program outcome. Wherever there is similarity, very good. If they are near, you have decided. So we say, here is also mentioned, when you say, I took an example of a course on electromagnetic theory. The CO1 is ability to analyze the concept, ability to investigate, ability to like this. Then you see they are linked to which POs. Look for those verbs in the PO1. Look for the verb in PO2, 3, 4. Look for the verb PO11. Now, then you can always say that this Bloom taxonomy level, looking at the verb, it's the level 3 or 4 or 5. Now, please see here, these are the things where the faculty has to spend efforts of discussing, analyzing, and putting into practice. The process-defined POCs that we have in Institute Vision and Mission, Department of Vision and Mission, input from the faculty members, alumni, and then we take it like this and so on. So remember, when writing outcomes, ask yourself what skills should learners be able to perform upon completing the learning. Why should I want learner to understand this? Please see it. Honors is outcome-based education system. This is student-centric. The faculty is responsible to मैं ये कब कर रहा हूँ. How can learner do something that related to what I want them to understand? So, while articulating outcomes on program level, what the student need to know and be able to do when the education program is completed. Say, but decide how the outcomes are divided into what students should be able to gain and demonstrate knowledge, what they should be able to do, exhibit, and so on. So deciding when articulating program, POs at the outcomes at the program level, keep these things in mind. See, when articulating learning outcome at the course level, the outcome do not need to include all these three aspects. See, cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. See, at the course level, they may not include. Every course need not. For example, one may have more focus on of the three types of knowledge, but it's important to combine the three levels of altogether when possible. See, when they consolidated at the program level, they contribute. So at the course level, it is not essential, all three parts should be included. Now, why write learning outcomes? Shift from teaching to learning. Focus is on the learner rather than the teacher. Students know exactly what they are expected to learn, and each course student will know exactly how their learning will be assessed. Assessment is also indicated. Students begin to take more responsibility for their own learning when they know what they are expected to do and what standard they are expected to achieve. Please remember, these things are part of the course outcomes. These are part of the program outcomes. So, by stating these course outcomes, I am sending the information to student the levels of my expectation. And in fact, in the outcome-based education system, if I realize the mission and vision, we start from the we have designed, we have formulated course outcome, program outcomes. Now, using the assessment techniques, using the outcome of courses, we can look at the course outcome, then from program outcome, then for PEOs, then for mission and vision. The reason I'm saying this thing is the course outcome and program outcome, they are the central object of achieving and implementing the outcome-based education system. When we look at the attainment, etc., everything comes from here. Thank you. With this, now questions, please.